Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Town Hall for Birmingham Promise parents and students. I am Sybil Scarborough, and I will serve as your moderator for this evening. Today, you will hear from the mayor and the Birmingham Promise team, Birmingham City Schools, and the mayor's office Division of Youth Services. We will open up the phone lines because we really want to hear from you. At any time, you may press 0 on your keypad to ask a question. Staff members are standing by. I now welcome and turn tonight's Town Hall over to Mayor Randall Whitman.
Hey, thank you so much, Sybil, and good evening to the parents as well as the graduates of the class of 2020, soon to be incoming freshmen in schools around the state of Alabama this fall. First off, allow me to start this discussion by once again congratulating the cohort of Birmingham Promise students for being accepted to either a 2-year community college or a 4-year college or university in Alabama to start your college career without worrying about how you'll pay for it. This is an honor you have earned, and believe it or not, it's definitely an honor you deserve. You know, by being a Birmingham Promise student, your tuition and mandatory fees are covered in this last dollar scholarship program. And so I want to commend the students for the hard work you've put in to get to this point. And I also want to thank the parents for standing by your children or your child as they push forward toward new opportunities. Now, I know many of you all still have questions about the program, and tonight we're here to provide answers. And so I'm here tonight with Rachel Harmon, the Executive Director with the Birmingham Promise, Dr. Clarissa Reese from Birmingham City Schools, as well as David Dada from the City of Birmingham, to address any questions you may have. Now, before we start, I want to point out why we're having this call tonight. Although several hundred students have completed their financial aid process and have been accepted into college, there is a group of students who still have not completed their financial aid paperwork. And that's serious. While the Birmingham Promise team has been working hard to connect with these students, there are some students and parents the Birmingham Promise still has not been able to reach. Because of this, the Birmingham Promise has extended its deadline for students to complete your financial aid process. That deadline is Friday, August 14th. Let me repeat that. The deadline is now Friday, August 14th. Please don't take what I've said lightly. The Birmingham Promise is here to help students pursue your dreams of college. And we've heard from students on how they cannot wait to start classes. But the program can't help students if the contact information you originally provided is no longer good, calls are not being answered, emails are not read, or the financial aid process has not been completed. Simply put, we want to help you, but we need your help in helping us. And so this week, recent high school graduates from Birmingham City Schools who still need assistance in completing their financial aid process will have the chance to talk one-on-one with the Birmingham Promise team member from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. They should visit Cadley, that's CALENDLY.com, BHM Promise Info /BHM Promise Fafsa Help to sign up for an appointment. But I think there's a better way. If for any reason students cannot access this link, they can call the Birmingham Promise at 205-843-5967. Again, that phone number to get your one-on-one talk with the Birmingham Promise member all this week from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. is 205-843-5967. And let the person know that they want to sign up for a one-on-one session. I also want to remind students that unless they have received confirmation from the Birmingham Promise team that everything has been completed for their fall semester, they should continue to check the student portals connected to their schools because their college may be sending important financial aid information or updates. After this call tonight, if you still have any questions and need to connect with the Birmingham Promise, please visit birminghampromise.org. Again, that's Birmingham spelled out, birminghampromise.org, where you will find a question and answer sheet that may answer some of the issues you have. You may also, again, call 205-843-5967 or send emails to info info at birminghampromise.org and provide your contact information. I think with that, young people as well as parents, let's open it up, and from this point on, we'll just engage in any issues, questions, or concerns you have, and I look forward to the dialogue.
Thank you, Mayor. For those of you just joining the call, thank you for being with us this evening. We want to remind you that you can press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. We will also have polling questions this evening that will come up in just a few moments. Our first question tonight is as follows. When will my university financial aid office receive my Birmingham Promise payment?
Yes. Good evening, parents and students. My name is Rachel Harmon. As the mayor said, I serve on the Birmingham Promise team, and I'm happy to speak with you all this evening. So most universities are processing Birmingham Promise payments after the add drop period. So that's typically somewhere in late August or early September. There's a little variation on that timeline depending on the school. However, in the meantime, your accounts, if we have you at the correct university, have been protected to allow you to register for classes and to ensure that you are not charged a late fee. If you have any issues with your university and you know that we have you on file with the correct school, please email info@birminghampromise.org. We will reach out to the financial aid office at your university and the admissions office and ensure that your account has been protected. But typically, most schools, you should see the actual credit to your account at the close of the add drop period. We do have several schools, such as Jacksonville State University, that are billing us early, but the close of the add drop period is the latest you should see that credit to your account.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. The next caller would like to know, if my financial aid office says my tuition has not been paid yet, will I still be able to begin classes?
Yes, that's a great question, and it goes back to the last part of our previous answer. We sent a list of students that we have verified at each institution to that school to say these are the students that we will be covering their bills this semester. Please protect their accounts. Now, if you have not given us the correct university, if we do not have the correct university on file for you, you need to email us, and we need that information by the end of this week so that we can give your name to the correct institution to make sure, again, that your account is protected while we wait for that invoice from the institution.
Thank you. We have an additional caller who is asking, what phone number do students need to call for the one-on-one assistance with financial aid?
The best number to reach Birmingham Promise at is 205-843-5967. Those phone lines are open between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day. If you call us outside of those hours, we will get the voicemail and respond to you as soon as we can. And when you call that number with the person that you speak with, let them know that you would like to sign up for a one-on-one Fafsa session, and they will get you signed up. And during that session, if you have questions about what paperwork you need to turn into your university, if you have questions about how to read your financial aid letter, we can use that time one-on-one with you to go through those specific questions.
Thank you so much. We also want to remind everyone that you can press 0 on your keypad at any time if you would like to ask a question. We'll now go to our first polling question of the day, and we'd like to know a little bit about you. The question is, who are you? Press 1 if you are a student. Press 2 if you're a parent or guardian. Press 3 if you are an administrator. And press 4 if you're a school counselor. Again, we would like to know who you are. You may press 1 if you are a student. Press 2 if you're a parent or guardian. Press 3 if you are an administrator. And press 4 if you are a school counselor. We will leave that polling question open for about 3 minutes. We also have an additional question for the day, and a caller would like to know, will the one-on-one calls help students with financial aid processing only be done during the week of August 10th through 14th?
At this point, yes, given that our deadline is the 14th, and that is when we need to have that information both into Birmingham Promise and shared with your institution. However, if we do find that there's additional demand beyond this week, we may be able to extend that support into the next week.
Thank you. Remember, you can press 0 at any time if you'd like to ask a question. Our next question is the call tonight for 2020 graduates only or for 2021 graduates as well?
Of course, anyone is open to call in. We are prioritizing information for the class of 2020, given that we are so close to the start of the fall semester and there are lots of questions that parents and students have with classes just rolling around and some students already having arrived on campus. However, if there are questions for the class of 2021, we're happy to answer those time permitting.
Thank you, and that is Rachel Harmon, Director of the Birmingham Promise, that you're hearing from. And so our next question for you is as follows. You said the deadline to get financial aid in is August 14th. Where do I go to submit it, and how do I start?
Yes, that's a really great question. So the major office that you need to be in contact with is the financial aid office at your institution. At this point, you should have received information about how to submit your FAFSA. And if you've logged into your student portal, which we mentioned at the top of the call, you may see that there's additional documentation that you need to turn into your school or some other questions that they may have for you. If you have any questions about that process, I encourage you to sign up for a one-on-one session. We'll be able to sit with you, even share your screen, and make sure that you have all of the specific information that you need about getting your financial aid information to your school.
Good information. Thank you. And we want to remind our callers that we're getting ready to close that polling question, which we were asking, who are you? Press 1 for student, press 2 for parent or guardian, press 3 for an administrator, and press 4 if you are the school counselor. We will have that open for about 30 more seconds. The next question says, I thought I had completed my FAFSA, but my school said I'm missing paperwork. What do I need to do to get this fixed?
Yeah, that's a really common issue. I think the first thing to understand is that you haven't done anything wrong. There's a lot of students that complete their FAFSA and turn it into their school and end up being notified that there's additional paperwork that they need to turn in. So don't panic. The second thing that I would do, if you do have questions, again, please sign up for a one-on-one session so that we can direct you to the correct place. And the third thing I would say is log into your student portal. Your school will let you know if there's particular pieces of information that they're missing. It may be some tax documentation. It may be a birth certificate. There's a lot of different paperwork that schools may need to verify. And make sure that you're in contact with your financial aid office at every step of the process so that you're providing them with the information that they need and they're able to provide you with a financial aid award.
Okay, thank you. A caller would like to know, how can I find out if my name is on the list to make sure if anything else is deducted?
Yes, so again, I think the most efficient way to get in contact with Birmingham Promise to ensure that we have all of the correct information for you is to shoot us an email at info@birminghampromise.org. You can put in the subject of your email, checking on student status, and we'll be able to get you a very clear update about the information we have from you, where we sent your name, which institution we sent it to, and what that institution has shared with us as far as the completion of your financial aid process. One additional thing that I wanted to add to the second question around where do I start to complete my financial aid process is to make sure that you are checking your email, both your personal email and if you already have an email account for your institution, make sure that you are checking that so that if there is information that the school is seeking from you, you are able to respond in a timely manner.
Thank you so much, Ms. Harmon. So our next question is for Mayor Whitman, and the caller would like to know, is the Birmingham Promise every year?
Yes, it is. The short answer is yes. For anyone that's in high school now, freshman, sophomore, junior, for anyone that's in pre-K through 8th grade as well as any child that attends Birmingham City School System and finishes Birmingham City Schools will be allowed to use this program.
Thank you, Mayor. We'd now like to go to our next polling question of the day, and the question is as follows. Are you, or is your student, the first person in your family to attend college? Press 1 for yes and press 2 for no. Again, are you, or is your student, the first person in your family to attend college? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. We will have that polling question open for about 3 minutes. And we want to remind you, if you're just joining the call, you can press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. This is a good one that has just come in. The student would like to know, I decided to go to Miles College instead of UAB. Can I still use the Birmingham Promise?
So the Birmingham Promise covers public institutions 2 or 4 year in the state of Alabama. So Miles College is a private institution, and at this time we do not cover private institutions. So you will need to attend a public institution in the state. If you want to see a list of eligible institutions, if you go to birminghampromise.org, you can find a list there to make sure that whatever institution you'd like to attend in the fall is eligible.
Thank you. The next question, I did not get into my first college choice, but I still want to go to college. What do I need to do now?
It's a great question. Similar to the question around, thinking that you completed your financial aid information and needing to send in more. The first thing to understand is that you don't have to panic. This is a very common situation, and it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. If you have not applied to other schools, public institutions that you would like to attend, you will need to do that, and you will need to do that fairly quickly. If you have maybe a second or third choice school that you were admitted to, you need to let us know by emailing us at info@birminghampromise.org or giving us a call at 205-843-5967 to let us know that you've changed your plans. If you're just a little bit confused and you don't exactly know what to do, please feel free to reach out to us, give us a call, and we'll help you walk through the process of determining what to do in the fall.
Thank you so much. We want to remind you again of our second polling question, which is as follows. Are you or your student the first person in your family to attend college? Press 1 for yes or press 2 for no. You have about 1 minute left to answer that polling question. Our next question of the day is, does the Birmingham Promise cover housing or books?
The Birmingham Promise is designed to cover the largest college expense, which is tuition and then those mandatory fees. We do not cover books or meal plans or housing, but our hope is that if we're able to cover that major educational expense, that other financial resources that you may have, whether it's outside scholarships or perhaps family support, you can direct it towards some of those other expenses that we know that all college students have.
Thank you. We want to remind everyone that you can press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. And our next one is as follows. I've decided not to go to college this fall. Do I still need to let the Birmingham Promise know?
Yes, and I will say this, and I'll probably repeat it a couple of times today. No matter what your plans are for the fall, please reach out to us, whether it is email or call, to let us know what those plans are. If your plan, for example, is to defer starting until the spring, we do need to know that. We have decided to allow for more flexibility as far as when students do start, and we'll have an appeals process for students that are not comfortable or prepared to start this fall.
Thank you so much. We want to remind you that that second polling question has just closed, and we'll have the next one open in just a moment. Our next question, do you have to be enrolled in 2020 college to get the Birmingham Promise, or can you start it in 2020 and still get it?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes, the caller would like to know, do you have to be enrolled in college in 2020 to get the Birmingham Promise, or can you start in 2021 and still get it?
Gotcha. So delaying by a full academic year. Yeah, so again, this appeals process, our original goal is to have students start the fall immediately after they graduate from high school. That's what we've seen be the best in terms of the trajectory for students across college. However, this is a very different academic year, and we know that there are a number of challenges that students and families are facing that none of us could have predicted. So we will have an appeals process. It's not a guaranteed process. We will ask for some basic information as far as why students have decided to defer, the particular challenges that they're facing, and we plan to get those decisions back to students by the middle of this fall semester.
Thank you. We also want to thank everyone who's just joining the Birmingham Promise Tele Town Hall and remind you that you can press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. Our next question is, if a child receives a full scholarship, How does that affect the promise, and does the promise include band fees?
So if they receive a full scholarship, the Birmingham Promise, as we said at the beginning of the call, is a last dollar scholarship. So that means it kicks in after you have exhausted Pell Grants, if you're eligible, and after you've exhausted any state public aid that you are eligible for. This partially depends on the flexibility of that particular scholarship. If, for example, that scholarship can be used for things outside of tuition, you may be able to use it for those things and apply Birmingham Promise towards tuition. Most scholarships prefer that their dollars be used for tuition. So in that case, the scholarship would take effect before Birmingham Promise does.
Thank you. We're now going to go to our third polling question of the evening, and that polling question is as follows. If the Birmingham Promise was not available, would you or your student have enrolled in a 2- or 4-year school? Press 1 for no, I would not have enrolled. Press 2 if the answer is yes, I would have enrolled regardless of the Birmingham Promise. And press 3, the Birmingham Promise helps make college possible for me. Again, the question is, if the Birmingham Promise was not available, would you or your student have enrolled in a 2- or 4-year school? Press 1 if the answer is no, I would not have enrolled. Press 2 if the answer is yes, I would have enrolled regardless of the Birmingham Promise. And press 3 if the answer is the Birmingham Promise helps make college possible for me. We will have that polling question open for about 2 more minutes to give you a little time to chime in. Our next question for the evening is, COVID-19 scares me, and I'm not ready to go to school in the fall. Can I wait for a semester and still use my Birmingham Promise in the spring?
That's a great question, and we completely understand that it's a challenging time to think about physically going to campus. So we have established an appeals process for students that would like to defer their start, and we will release that information. We'll ask again for some basic information back from students and make a final decision about our ability to extend funding in the spring semester. If you are planning to defer until the spring, please let us know, again, either via email or by the phone, so that when we release that process and that form, we make sure that you get that form and you're able to return it in time.
Thank you. Good question from the next caller who would like to know. I was wanting to know, is the Birmingham Promise going to last all 4 years of your university or not?
Yes, it will be around to cover all 4 years or 2 years, depending on what college you're attending this fall. But the Birmingham Promise guarantees 4 years of funding for students.
Thank you. We want to remind everyone that you can press 0 at any time, and we will have a team standing by to take your call. The next question tonight, I spoke with one of the counselors from the Birmingham Promise, but I have not received an email confirmation that everything is good to go for my daughter. I haven't received an email confirmation, but I've spoken with someone. So what should I do?
So in that case, if you spoke with one of our counselors for one of the one-on-one FAFSA sessions, you would not automatically receive an email confirmation after that session because most of what we're covering in those sessions is information that you need to share with your institution. So Birmingham Promise, outside of colleges giving us that information, we cannot confirm whether or not you have completed their financial aid processes. You will need to follow up with your institution's financial aid office to make sure that that is the case. You can, of course, always reach out to us, either email or phone, and we'll make sure that you have all of the information that we have on your student, or if you are the student, for you.
Thank you so much. We want to remind you that we have about 1 minute left on that last polling question, which is as follows. If the Birmingham Promise was not available, would you or your student have enrolled in a 2- or 4-year school? Press 1 for no, I would not have enrolled. Press 2 for yes, I would have enrolled regardless of the Birmingham Promise. And press 3, the Birmingham Promise helps make college possible for me. You'll have about 30 seconds left to answer our third polling question. We'd now like to go to our next question, which says, If my son's financial aid has been flagged and we're waiting on documents and don't get the documents before the deadline, will he miss out on the Birmingham Promise payment?
No, so he wouldn't miss out on the Birmingham Promise payment in that case. The challenge that that timeline does present is that we would not be able to protect that student's account because students are not eligible for financial aid until they complete their verification process. We'll continue to work with students past this August 14th deadline if they're still, for example, there are several pieces of documentation that you may have to get that can take weeks to get. We'll continue to work with you all, but we won't be able to have your institution protect your account because you won't technically be eligible for financial aid.
Thank you. This question is from a student that is definitely thinking ahead. It says, if I got accepted into a community college now, but it's not the school I want to go to, and I get into another university, can I transfer after my first semester?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I love to hear students thinking in the long term about their future. So yes, Birmingham Promise dollars will follow you as long as you are attending an eligible institution. And as we said, students are eligible for up to 4 years of funding. So if you decide, you go to a community college now, you'd like to transfer to a 4-year institution, as long as it is eligible and as long as you notify us within the proper time frame, these funds will follow you to your next institution.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. When will the students for 2021 be able to apply for the Birmingham Promise?
Great question. Again, I love to hear folks thinking ahead. So we plan to open up our application earlier than we did last year. Last year we opened it up in January. Our hope at this point is to open up our application in October, and that coincides with when Fafsa opens up so that we can spend more time with students making sure that they get their FAFSA in and that they have all of their questions answered earlier in the school year as opposed to later in the spring.
Thank you. As a reminder, that last polling question is getting ready to close, but you can press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. Our next caller is concerned about the current status that we're in with the pandemic, and the question is, with COVID-19, will the Birmingham Promise still be available for the class of 2021?
Yes, absolutely. The commitment that the mayor and our other corporate partners have made to the Birmingham Promise stands despite the challenges that we're currently facing. So you will see the application open up for the class of 2021, and we plan to do an even better job than we did this year.
Thank you very much. So the next caller says, I didn't graduate from a public school. I graduated from Junior Academy, which is a private school. But I still applied for this scholarship program. Can I have an answer whether I can still receive the academic scholarship?
Yes, so the Birmingham Promise is an interesting scholarship. It's not merit-based and it's not need-based, but it is place-based. And the place that our scholarship is focused on is Birmingham City Schools. That's the district that we are working in. So if you are not a Birmingham City School graduate, you are not eligible for Birmingham Promise tuition assistance.
Thank you. This is an interesting question. The caller said, once I graduate from college, I want to go for my master's degree. Will the Birmingham Promise cover that?
I love that ambition, and I love that students are already thinking ahead to their professional degrees. Unfortunately, Birmingham Promise will not cover graduate degrees, but here's the thing. If you're able to avoid, $10,000, $12,000 of debt in undergrad, you will hopefully be in a much better position to either sort of self-support graduate degrees or identify other funding opportunities for those graduate degrees. And we will definitely be here cheering you on as a Birmingham Promise team.
And we have some people who are just joining the call and wanted to know about room and board. Does the Birmingham Promise cover that?
Again, a really great question, and we recognize that that's a very significant expense for students. The Birmingham Promise covers tuition and mandatory fees. Again, we focus on tuition and mandatory fees because that is the largest educational expense. Our hope is that by covering that, students can identify alternative sources of support for room and board or other expenses beyond that.
Thank you. This question is from a parent or guardian, and it says, on his college checklist, it shows financial aid. Do I need to have him complete it even though he is going to receive the Birmingham Promise?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes. Because Birmingham Promise is a last dollar scholarship, it's very important that students not only complete their FAFSA, but that they submit it to the correct institution. So yes, definitely make sure that you complete your financial aid processes. That's important, again, to make sure that you get all of the other sources of funding that you're eligible for. It's also important to make sure that you are eligible for financial aid in general. You will not be eligible for financial aid at your institution if you don't complete that process. So please complete that. And if you have any questions about that, again, we have one-on-one sessions for the remainder of the week. I would encourage you to sign up for those.
Thank you. And for those of you just joining us, you're listening to Rachel Harmon, Director of the Birmingham Promise. And as we move on, if you could, we have some people who are just joining. Can you give us the criteria that has to be met in order to maintain the scholarship?
That's a really good question. So it's very simple. In the same way that we work to make the application for Birmingham Promise simple, our goal is to make the process for maintaining your eligibility simple. So we follow what's called satisfactory academic progress. Each institution has a slightly different definition of that, but it's a minimum GPA, typically somewhere between a 1.5 and a 2.0, and you also have to complete a certain percentage of the courses that you attend. So you have to make sure that you are taking and then passing the majority of your courses. As long as students maintain that satisfactory academic progress, and if we have a success coach on your campus, making sure that you check in with that success coach twice a semester, you will maintain your eligibility. If we have any flags from your institution, maybe in the middle of the semester that you may be at risk of not meeting that minimum GPA, we will get that flag and we will reach out to you to make sure that we can support you and make sure you maintain your eligibility.
Thank you so much. This is one that could come in when you get a lot of acceptance letters. So a student would like to know, what happens if a student plans to attend a different university than originally stated for the Birmingham Promise?
That's a great question, and we have a lot of students that are in that category. I will double, triple emphasize the answer to this. Please inform Birmingham Promise if the institution that you originally stated is different. We need you to email us at info@birminghampromise.org or give us a call at 205-843-5967. Please do that as soon as you can. If you are on this call tonight, call us at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning because we need to make sure that we get your name to the correct institution so that we're properly billed for your tuition and fees. So if you're in that situation, please, please, please let us know that information as soon as you possibly can.
Thank you. We have a student who is definitely interested in the information that's being shared tonight and has this question. What do I need to do for transcripts with all of the schools closed down?
You can still request your transcript. You can still request your transcript from the school. Actually, someone should be in the main office at all of the schools. If not, if you have trouble getting someone by phone, then you can email me directly, and I will put you in contact with the right person. But the school counselors are actually in the building as well as the principals. But my email address is Creese, CREESE, @bhm.k12.al.us. Again, that's creese@bhm.k12.al.us. Also, my direct phone number is 205-705-2883.
Thank you so much. And that was Dr. Clarissa Wright-Reese with the Birmingham City Schools. We will now go on to our next polling question for the evening, and the question is as follows. Have you received enough information from the Birmingham Promise? Press 1 for yes, just the right amount. Press 2 for not enough. And press 3 if the answer is I received enough, but it could be better. Again, the question is, have you received enough information from the Birmingham Promise? Press 1 for yes, just the right amount. Press 2 for not enough. and press 3 if the answer is, I received enough, but it could be better. We will leave that polling question open for about 3 minutes and give you an opportunity to answer. Remember, if you're just joining us, you can press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. Going back, Ms. Harmon, to something that was said earlier, the caller would like to know what is considered a mandatory fee.
That's a great question. There is a slight variation across institutions, but in general, the way that we define mandatory fees are universal, so it's not based on the program that you're in, it's not based on where you live, and it is a condition of being a student. So some examples of mandatory fees are enrollment fees or student activity fees. Some institutions have a technology fee that you have to pay. So those sorts of things are considered mandatory fees. Things that are not considered mandatory fees are band fees or lab fees, for example. Those are things that are specific to your program, and so those would not be covered by Birmingham Promise.
Thank you. We now have a question for Dr. Reese with Birmingham City Schools. A caller would like to know, I have a student that finished 8th grade. For 9th grade, she is at Alabama Connection. Will she still be eligible to receive the Birmingham Promise?
Dr. Reese, I think I can answer that. This is Mayor Whitman. I'm not sure what Alabama Connection is. This is what I will say. Part of your full tuition scholarship is based on you being in the school system the entire year. So, the entire grading period of K through 12. And so it's commensurate with how long you've been in the system. So the question is, say you're in Birmingham City Schools K through 8th, you go to a different high school your freshman year, but you transfer back in, then your tuition will be based on 11 years of being in the system. And so your tuition, the amount you receive, whether it's full or not, is based on if you've been in the system the entire time.
Thank you, Mayor. Next question. Does the Birmingham Promise have space for students who were so focused on figuring out if they wanted to graduate or not that they didn't get a chance to participate?
That's a really difficult question. We do have we have an appeals process for essentially everything. The typical answer would be that we are supporting students that did complete their application on time, but we will have an appeals process in place for students that miss key deadlines due to extenuating circumstances. What we typically ask for in that appeals process is, again, basic information regarding the challenges that students were facing or other things that may have prevented them from meeting that key deadline, and then we make those determinations on an individual basis.
Thank you so much. Our next question is, what exactly is required to participate in the Birmingham Promise?
So on the scholarship side, the requirements are pretty simple. You do have to be a Birmingham City School graduate, and you do have to complete your FAFSA and submit your FAFSA to your institution of choice. Those are the two basic parameters in order to be able to be initially eligible. As we mentioned, there is a minimum GPA that you have to maintain and a couple of other programmatic requirements to maintain your eligibility semester by semester.
Thank you. The next caller would like to know, after the first 2 semesters are over and she is going into her sophomore year, do we have to reapply for the Birmingham Promise?
No, so you will not have to reapply. We will go through a process of verifying you at either the institution that you are currently attending, or again, if you choose to transfer. But you won't go through the same application process that you have to go through in order to be initially eligible.
Thank you. A caller would like to know, when will the iPads be available for Birmingham City School students?
A schedule is being developed now with a phased distribution for starting with grades K through 2. This should start within the next couple of weeks. However, an official communication will go out to parents with the specified dates regarding device pickup. And remember that students must be registered in order to receive a device.
Thank you so much. That's Dr. Reese with Birmingham City Schools. Our next question. My daughter graduated from Ramsey in 2020, and she's enrolled at Lawson State in the summer. She is about to start the fall semester. how does she know if she can go on and participate in the Birmingham Promise?
The best way to confirm that or to sort of get clarity on that is to, again, either give us a call at 205-843-5967. And when you get on the phone with one of our outreach specialists, you can state your name and let them know that you are trying to clarify or confirm if you are eligible for the Birmingham Promise. Or you can also send us an email at info@birminghampromise.org and ask us the same question. We'll look you up and see what information we have on file for you, and you'll have clarity that way.
Thank you. The next caller is asking, I'm waiting for 2021. Do I still have to wait until October before I can sign for the Promise?
Yes, I love that enthusiasm and excitement, and we will be here to support you next year, but our application will open in October.
And can you give that phone number again for those who are just joining us?
Yes, ma'am. That number is 205-843-5967. We have someone manning that line between 9 and 5 p.m. every day. If you call us outside of those hours, we'll get that voicemail and we'll give you a call back as soon as we can.
Thank you. And we are grateful for everyone that's on the line tonight. A caller would like to know, I'd like to email a couple of questions to someone so that I can get a better understanding, but I don't know who to email it to. Can you give that email address again?
Yes, ma'am. One more time, if you do have any question, shoot us an email at info, that's I-N-F-O, at Birmingham, all the way spelled out, promise.org. If you prefer to give us a call, again, our number is 205-843-5967.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon, and we appreciate all the information that has been shared tonight. We want to remind you that tonight's call will be available online at birminghamal.gov on tomorrow, and we will now turn it back over to Mayor Randall Whitman for our last points of the evening.
First off, let me do this. Let me thank Dr. Reese from the Birmingham City School System, as well as let me thank Rachel Harmon, who has put all of her time, her passion and commitment and sense of urgency into making sure you all as graduates and incoming freshmen in Alabama public schools get this right. And shout out to you parents for being on this call as well. I'm just excited, y'all. This was the first year. I'm speaking now directly to the May 2020 graduates. Because of the coronavirus, this was the first year I wasn't able to stand on the stage and shake your hand and personally wish you a congratulations. But at a minimum, I'm tipping my hat to you to be afforded this opportunity and not be like me, which I'm still paying back a lot of student loans. So thanks for being better than me. Thanks for investing in your own future. And thank you, parents, for loving your children. And with that, I hope you all have a good week and good luck in school. Anything our office can do to be helpful, don't hesitate. Let us know. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, this information will be online on tomorrow at birminghamal.gov. We want to remind you that if you'd like more information on the Birmingham Promise, you can call 205-843-5967. And remember, we will continue to do our very best to keep